What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome inside our Straight Up Saints halftime show powered by 4D. Saints trailing to the Falcons 17-14 at the moment through two quarters. And we'll get through some of my quick thoughts, and then we'll bring it over to you guys. So if you guys have comments, questions, concerns, complaints, put it in the chat, and I'll pull it up as we always do on our halftime show. So let's start with it. There's been some really good play for the Saints this half, and there's also been some of the most frustrating play from this team so far. And I think the way I'm looking at this New Orleans squad at the moment, this is going to be one of those games where if it continues this way and they end up losing, it is one of those losses that we're going to look back at and we're going to talk about, oh, this cost them down the road, or this is why they're not where they want to be. Because this is one of those games where you're beating yourself up right now. Just absolutely beating yourself up. So let's start off with the first mistake, right? Saints get a stop on defense. Great. They're going to get the ball back. Rashid Shaheed's trying to field a punt inside the 5 like he's Willie Mays, just going back like this. Dude, just let that ball go. Muffs the punt, goes into the end zone. Falcons score a touchdown. They're up 7-0. Saints come back, score, brilliant drive. Used Olave well, used AK well, used Taysom Hill well, used even Shaheed well. He made a nice play on that drive. 7-7, great. You go up 14-7 because Taysom Hill just likes to kill the Falcons every season. And then you have the Derek Carr pick 6 where he goes to throw it out, gets batted up into the air, ball hangs up in the air for about 55 minutes, and the Falcons go out the other way. And what's wild is the Saints have not given up an offensive touchdown. Yet they've given up 17 points as a team because of stupid mistakes by this team. And I think for me, coming into this week, I said this is one of those games you go out and win. It won't feel like last year's team. It'll feel a little bit different. But the mistakes they've made today feel like last year's team where they're beating themselves. And I know it's early in the season. It's only week 4. Saints can, they're going to get the ball to start the second half. They very well could go down the field, end up winning this game, and they're 3-1. But I think good teams and the teams that want to be contenders, they can't be beating themselves up to this degree. Like I mentioned, Derek Carr's only got 4 incompletions, but one of them is a pick 6, and he just had that god-awful throw to end the half. So those are 2 critical mistakes. Rashid Shaheed's a great playmaker. He gave the Falcons 7 points with that muffed punt. And then defensively, I think the secondary's been okay at times. My biggest problem is where's the pass rush? Because the secondary, obviously, when they're getting beat, it's when Kirk Cousins got 4 or 5 seconds to throw. Pass rush has to step up. We talked about the Saints injuries on the O-line. Falcons are missing 2 offensive linemen that start for them due to injury as well. So Saints got to clean it up. They got to get better pass rush going there. Offensively, you can't have stupid mistakes because I think they're running the football pretty well with Alvin. I think he's looked really fresh despite being on the injury report all week due to a rib injury and a hip injury. So that's great. But you need better pass rush, and you need to cut the stupid mistakes because that is what's killing this team right now. Stupidity after stupidity after stupidity. Now, before I get to you guys, I just want to throw in Taysom Hill going to the locker room. That's brutal. If Taysom Hill doesn't come back and he's taking a beating this game, that changes the dynamic of the Saints offense. We've seen Taysom Hill look fantastic so far. Falcons haven't had an answer for him, whether he's at a runner or blocker. So not having him definitely would hurt this team. There's no doubt about it. So I've said my piece. I've complained. I think the Saints are more than capable of winning this game. They just got to stop with the dumb mistakes. So let's turn it over to see what you guys have to say. And we'll go with Kyle here. Says, clearly the plan is to limit Carr throws. They don't trust him, and neither do I. I actually don't think it's the trust factor as much as I think the Saints are doing a lot of these quick throws as a way to not let your offensive line get exposed without Eric McCoy, without Cesar Ruiz. That's the way I view it. Even the pick 6, it's supposed to be a quick throw to the outside. Matthew Judon ends up getting his arm on it, and that thing goes up in the air. Now, you could say Derek Carr should have either dirted that ball or tried to sidearm it around. Whatever you want, you can say that. That's fine. The way I viewed the game plan, though, the Saints clearly, with their O-line being depleted, feel like it's got to be run and then quick passes, and that's how they feel. So I'm not trying to defend Derek Carr. Derek Carr hasn't exactly played well today. We see it with our own eyes, but I don't think the game plan is supposed to be anti-Carr as much as it is exposing your O-line to the pass rush. John says, I'm really happy with one thing. The Falcons are the ones eating the penalties. The Saints have been pretty disciplined in that aspect. You're not wrong about that. Falcons got 6 penalties for 56 yards through 2 quarters of play. Saints, on the other hand, 1 penalty for 5 yards. So if the Saints are going to win this game despite their stupid mistakes, this might be a big reason why, John, the Falcons' penalties. Joey says, game feels like we're dominating, incredibly frustrating. It is. Casper says, why do we always beat ourselves this week and last? Coaching, ? Well, that's where it turns to, right? If this continues, the Saints lose this game and they lose it in this fashion, you got no one else to look at than the head coach. And why are they making these type of critical mistakes? New Daylight Presents says it's Saints versus Saints. We're giving them the game away. Yep, like I said, pick six and then the fumble touchdown. So 14 of the 17 points the Falcons have scored are not even on offense. One on special teams, one on defense. That's just wild. Lady St. Irvin says terrible second quarter of ball. You know, it's crazy. It took such a turn. The second quarter looked like the Saints were winning it, just like they felt like they were winning the first quarter. And, what might seem like a simple mistake just changes the complexity of the game, Denzel Allen says should easily be winning. I agree. Marco says pass rush has been awful. They need help. They're bad. Olave needs the ball more. Yeah, I agree on all accounts. Obviously, you'd like to get Olave going more. It feels like they use him on the first drive, and they're like, all right, we used too much of Olave. That's it. No more for the rest of the game. And it's becoming a trend that's kind of annoying. But, yeah, I think in terms of the pass rush, that's going to be the key focus. Can the Saints get pressure on Kirk Cousins, who is down 2 starting offensive linemen and isn't very mobile to begin with? So, frustrating they haven't been able to do that. Louisiana says AK is going off. My goodness. Yeah, AK's been awesome. Already, he's up to 55 rushing yards, and that's only on 9 carries. So the Saints have done a good job of not overusing him, in my opinion. 26 carries last week was egregious. You never want to get close to that number. What I will say is the Saints are missing that secondary back. And that's why I keep saying they need Kendra Miller at some point to get healthy and stop the shenanigans, because they need someone to take some of that workload off of him. Christian says Derek Carr doing Derek Carr things. St. Mike says vintage Carr. Hale Mendoza says Kubiak clearly doesn't trust Carr. It might be that way. I also think it's part Saints trying to just go quick and not put their O-line in tough spots. Now, that pick six might change things, right? Maybe for Kubiak, maybe you're like, hey, I don't fucking trust this guy. But the way I viewed it initially was that. I mean, all week reporters were talking about Saints are going to go with a quick passing game. Forgive says Olave was wide open for the third time in the first half. Olave's open an awful lot. Advanced metrics show it. Our eyes show it. Even there, towards the end of the first half, I feel like Derek Carr had him. He ends up throwing an off-balance one-footer that comes up short. Vilma was ripping the throw, rightfully so. It was a bad one. He's got to be sharper in the second half. There's no excuse. Gabriel says we need to see improvement from Derek Carr. Some of those throws are questionable, but we have the opportunity to take the dub. Yeah, it's still out there, and I think that's the beauty and frustrating. The beauty of it and the frustrating part of this game, right? Saints have really dominated in some degrees. They've given it away with stupidity, and yet, all in all, you're still there, down 3, starting the second half with the ball. The game's there for the taking. Are you going to be able to take it and not shoot yourself in the foot for the third time? Trey Day says we look sloppy. Terry says all we have at QB is a conservative Jameis. Margaret says the Saints are their own worst enemy. They got to get to the QB. Totally agree on that. K. Rosie says should be 14-3. Atlanta has done nothing on offense. Yeah, they have done nothing. And I think that's the most frustrating part. We should be talking about how the Saints are on their way to 3-1. And now we're talking about, can the Saints avoid going to 2-2 because of critical errors that just shouldn't be happening? Jerry G says mistakes happen. No, they certainly do. To this magnitude is quite frustrating, though. That's what I would say about the mistakes. Just Call Me Trey says Saints are for sure beating themselves right now, and it doesn't help that the Falcons are starting to get pressure on Carr. Keep running the ball and give Carr quick passes. I agree. They are starting to get pressure on him. It's going to ramp up. Margaret says any news on Taysom? They haven't said anything yet, to my knowledge. I know he was looking at his chest. He seemed to be in a good amount of discomfort, which is obviously not ideal, man. The guy's had a bruised lung since week 2. So we just got to hope for the best right now, but we haven't heard anything yet. Jay Real says, how does this shit keep happening? I don't know. I guess because they're the Saints. Like I have no explanation for it. Forgive says the game shouldn't even be close. Imagine what the defense is thinking, only allowing 3 points and somehow you're still losing. Yeah, I mean, the defense absolutely understand the frustration. I will say though, defense has an opportunity here. If they could just get a pass rush going to take the lead into their own hands and really start to pull away. And again, I'm not trying to put this on the defense. Like I said, they've given up 3 points, but Kirk Cousins is a statue of a quarterback with a banged up offensive line, and you got to find a way to get pressure on him badly. And I don't know if it's more the interior that's the problem. I'll take a closer look as the second half begins and see what's up, but the pass rush has been kind of mid, guys. That's the best way I'm going to put it. New Daylight Presents says Taysom to score a touchdown was 2,300 on my local bookmaker. I'm an idiot for not taking it. Are you sure it wasn't 2 touchdowns? Because 1 touchdown seems 2,300 for 1 touchdown seems a little nuts. Bayou Boys 504 says, let's see what the adjustments are made at halftime. Yeah, and what's crazy is you can make an argument they don't have to make that many adjustments. I think the Saints are executing well 90% of the time. The 10% that they're fucking up, though, are really bad mistakes, and they're the ones where it ends up being 7-point mistakes, like we mentioned. So definitely got to get better in that regard. Troy Sherman says, Taysom hurt. We're looking like a traditional offense, just like last week. On defense, those cutbacks / counter runs are hurting, just like last week. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this Taysom's injury is going to make it a little bit more complicated for them. Chase Young needs to make that next step. I agree. He definitely has to. And I just want to throw it out there. We haven't reached that point in the game. Saints have been the better team time and possession-wise. You got to keep it that way. The last thing you want to do is start gassing out your defense when they've actually been, in terms of production, been okay, only giving up 3 points. You want to continue being fresh because the pass rush hasn't been good even when they are fresh. You start gassing them out, all of a sudden it's going to look like this Eagles game, and that's the last thing we want. There isn't a pass rush. Young has been frustrating. My trust relies on Granderson. Granderson's pretty awesome. Charlie says, Carr completely holds his team back. He only looks for Shaheed even when Olave is wide open, and he's terrible with pressure. I mean, the pressure part's indisputable. He looks like a deer in headlights, which is kind of nuts. He's a veteran. He's been in the league for a while. It shouldn't be that way, but yet it is. Bayou Boys 504 says the short, quick pass is working. I said that this is what we needed, and we went and scored two times. Get back to it. Yeah, I'm fine with the quick touchdown, quick passes. In my opinion, you're taking pressure off your O-line. You're making life easier for Derek Carr. So I'm very much okay with the Saints doing that and continuing in that regard. Relying on development from a 33-year-old quarterback in an aspect that he's never been good in is exactly what's wrong with this team. Fair enough. Falcons keep doing these quick outs to Bijan. They keep working. Our defense needs to just. I will say that's a good point. That is one of those aspects where the Saints have looked pretty rough on. So, guys, the second half is about to begin. Like I said, Saints trailing 17-14. They're going to get the ball to start, have a great opportunity to go out there, get the lead back, and really start clamping down on the miscues. If they can do that, the Saints can win this game and improve to 3-1, but they got to cut down on the mistakes. We'll see if they can do it in the second half. And, of course, once this game goes final, we'll be back here at Boot Crew Media to cover it with our post-game live stream from the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.